In wartime, your personal freedom dies first. The government legally owns your daily routine. Bureaucrats shove their hands into your closet, your kitchen, and your private conversations to calculate national survival. Everyday domestic life mutates into a tightly controlled, ruthless military machine. It's the front lines. 1. The British government outlawed non-essential furniture, commanding citizens to purchase brutally simple, state-approved utility models. All stylistic choice vanishes overnight. You strip your cozy living room down to the rigid, austere aesthetic of a frontline military barracks just to hoard timber. The state suddenly acts as your mandated, cynical interior designer, tossing your carved oak chair straight into the fire to build bombers. It's ugly but functional. Could you survive a house styled by army generals? 2. Carrying a camera near military, port, or industrial zones in the United States could spark an immediate arrest for suspected espionage. You stroll down the pier, lift your lens to capture a flock of seagulls, and federal agents instantly tackle you face first into the concrete as a foreign master spy. They're the ultimate anti-tourist trap, powered by endless national paranoia and wartime panic. Snap a photo, go straight to jail. Don't smile for the mugshot. How quickly would you get arrested today using your smartphone? 3. In 1943, the United States banned pre-sliced bread so bakeries wouldn't waste wax paper and slicing machine steel. Bureaucrats tried to outlaw basic convenience, forcing angry citizens to hack apart their own morning toast with dull knives. This sparked such fierce public fury that officials surrendered and reversed the law in under 2 months. They caused the literal cancellation of the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's a disaster. What modern convenience would you riot over if banned tomorrow? Governments conducted aggressive dog censuses, relentlessly pressuring citizens to loan their pets to the military as frontline sentries or active mine detectors. 4. Your sweet family golden retriever suddenly faces harsh societal judgment for lacking a proper military rank or dodging his patriotic duty. He isn't holding a rank. Neighbors glare at your pup through the window for staying home. They treat the family pet as an unemployed slacker dodging the draft. Fetch becomes warfare. Would you volunteer your dog for military service or hide them? 5. From 1942 to 1945, manufacturing and selling new civilian cars in the United States became a federal crime. The colossal titan of the American economy pivots instantly, forcing gleaming dealerships to morph into glorified, desperate repair shops, fighting over scrap parts. Your broken-down sedan turns into an unfixable hostage situation because buying a replacement means you're going to jail. Keep the engine running. How long could your current car survive if buying was illegal? 6. Homeowners face strict legal mandates to own and operate a hand-operated water pump to extinguish falling incendiary bombs. You sit in your living room drinking tea, fully expecting to physically wrestle a flaming German explosive on your favorite floral rug before dinner. The law deputizes the average citizen as a frontline firefighter trapped inside their own lounge, waiting for the roof to ignite. Your house is a war zone. Grab the bucket. Would you trust your neighbors to put out a live bomb? 7. The United States halted all public typewriter production in 1942 to melt the metal and retrofit the factories down for machine guns. A single broken letter key suddenly escalates from a minor office annoyance into an unsolvable, career-ending catastrophe. You stare at the jammed machinery, knowing replacements don't exist anywhere in the country. The humble typewriter gets upgraded to the rare status of a strategic military weapon. You can't type. If your primary work tool became banned, what would you do? 8. The Ministry of Food legally capped meals at 3 courses and harshly restricted menu options alongside prices. Fine dining reduces to a bleak, legally mandated interrogation about which specific rationed root vegetable you prefer to eat tonight. Chefs strip away their creative flair, serving basic survival calories disguised as luxury cuisine. You witness the brutal death of culinary choice by cold, bureaucratic decree. Eat your plain turnips. Could you survive a restaurant dictating the only 3 menu items? 9. The law criminalized spreading alarm or despondency, meaning police could jail you just for acting pessimistic about the war at the local pub. A legally enforceable mandate on positive thinking drops over the country. Whining about your rough day at the factory or a bad newspaper headline transforms into a literal arrestable offense. You get thrown in a cold jail cell just for giving off bad vibes to the bartender? Smile or else. Who's the one friend you know who'd get arrested complaining? 10. The United States government begged women to donate their long hair to serve as microscopic crosshairs in high-precision bomber sights. A mundane trip to the neighborhood hair salon morphs into a direct lethal contribution to high-altitude military targeting technology. The barber sweeps up your blonde locks and ships them off to a secret munitions factory. Your personal haircut turns into a deadly sniper optic dropping explosives. You're giving up fashion for a weapon. Would you shave your head if the military promised victory? 11. During World War I, rampant hysteria led many states to legally ban teaching or even speaking German in public. Orchestras refused to play Beethoven symphonies, and frantic librarians purge classic books as if the printed syllables themselves act as enemy combatants. It fuels a rabid cultural witch hunt that brands an entire foreign dictionary as treasonous. Speak the wrong vowel, face the angry mob. Language becomes a crime. Imagine facing arrest just for your accent. How would you communicate? 12. A nationwide 35 miles per hour speed limit hit the highways to save rubber and gasoline, ignoring safety. The nation that birthed fast, rebellious car culture forces everyone to drive at the agonizing speed of a frustrated modern bicyclist just to spare the tires. It's a years-long, legally mandated patriotic traffic jam stretching from coast to coast. Push the pedal, fund the enemy. Just crawl to work. Could you tolerate driving 35 miles per hour for 4 years? 13. The government halted the manufacture of new musical instruments to redirect brass for artillery shells and wood for combat rifles. Musicians endure the chaos armed with whatever banged-up instrument they currently own, because keeping a steady rhythm takes a permanent backseat to explosive artillery. You fight the war with the dented trombone you have, not the pristine trombone you want. You're stuck fighting with a broken horn. Silence the grand pianos. If music production vanished today, what broken instrument would you play? Coastal cities like New York had to extinguish lights to prevent German submarines from silhouetting offshore cargo ships. 14. The brightest, most electric metropolis in the world plunges into a ghostly, terrifying darkness because one flashing neon diner sign could easily sink a massive freighter. Broadway lights turn into an accidental, glowing accomplice to enemy submarines lurking just beyond the cold harbor. Turn off the marquee. Have you ever navigated a major, bustling metropolis in pitch blackness? 15. The government restricted long-distance calls, empowering operators to actively interrupt and terminate frivolous or gossipy conversations. You're sitting on the line spilling family secrets, and an anonymous bureaucrat ruthlessly hangs up on you because your drama doesn't possess the urgency of an incoming air raid. It acts as an analog, nationwide do not disturb mode enforced by eavesdropping authorities, monitoring every single word. Just hang up. How fast would a government operator hang up on your call? 16. Spreading trivial gossip regarding factory schedules or troop movements became a criminal offense that aided the enemy. You must view every stranger drinking a pint in your local pub as a potential undercover spy waiting to report your casual chatter straight to the police. It turns every bustling public space into a paranoid listening post for the authorities, where a loose tongue equals actual jail time. Keep your mouth shut. Could you survive a law that makes spreading gossip a crime? 17. Officials outlawed the sacred cultural tradition of buying rounds of drinks to prevent nasty hangovers at vital munitions factories. A foundational pillar of pub etiquette becomes criminalized simply because the government needs you sober enough to assemble explosive bombs the next morning. It outlaws standard human generosity in the name of cold, relentless industrial efficiency on the assembly line. Pay for your own pint. What happens to your friend group if buying rounds is illegal? 18. The government encouraged cycling to save gas, but immediately banned the production of new bicycles to save steel and rubber. You face a stunning paradox where the state demands you ride a bike to work, then makes it functionally impossible to buy a new one anywhere in the country. Your basic 10-speed morphs into a highly coveted, irreplaceable strategic asset guarded like gold in your own garage. Pedal fast. How much would you pay for a rusty used bike today? 19. Government censors opened and read every piece of personal mail, literally cutting out complaints with sharp scissors. A romantic letter arrives at your door looking like Swiss cheese because a faceless bureaucrat decided you lacked the mental fortitude to handle your spouse complaining about a leaky roof. The government acts as your relationship's extreme, overprotective parent managing your feelings. They don't care about your privacy. Read between the holes. How would you react if the government cut your text messages? 20. Feeding the iconic pigeons in London became illegal because wasting rationed bread on birds registered as deeply unpatriotic. Pigeons stand accused of being freeloading traitors while a passing police officer issues a harsh fine just because you tossed a crust to a hungry flock in the square. Authorities rebrand these harmless birds as devious rats with wings stealing calories right from the vital war effort. Let them starve. Would you risk a hefty fine to feed a starving pigeon? 21. Unmarried women aged 20 to 30 faced legal compulsion to abandon their jobs and take up essential war work. The Ministry of Labor hijacks your entire career trajectory, forcibly moving you from a comfortable office desk to a muddy farm or a deafening factory line overnight. It operates as a national military draft strictly for labor, redefining women's work by aggressive, uncompromising federal law. Kiss your old boss goodbye. If the government reassigned your job tomorrow, where would you work? Stockpiling rationed goods constituted a serious crime, with neighborhood wardens actively monitoring citizens' grocery habits. 22. Hiding an extra bag of sugar in the dark recesses of your pantry turns your innocent kitchen into a tense, illegal crime scene waiting to be raided by the state. The law transforms a simple trip to the local grocery store into an act of severe legal peril and deep, constant paranoia. You wouldn't want to get caught. Hide the canned beans. Would you get caught hoarding snacks if the government checked today? 23. Ringing church bells faced a complete nationwide ban, designated to sound solely as a signal for a German paratrooper invasion. The comforting, centuries-old heartbeat of your quiet village transforms instantly into the ultimate, terrifying alarm for impending doom falling from the sky. Bureaucrats weaponize the peaceful sound of prayer into a shrieking harbinger of violent death for the entire countryside. Don't pull the rope. Imagine hearing silence for months, then bells ring. What's your move? 24. With nylon requisitioned for military parachutes, women resorted to using leg makeup and eyebrow pencils to draw fake stocking seams down their bare legs. A whole generation relies on a perfectly steady hand to maintain standard social decency just because soldiers stole their wardrobe from the sky. Society treats a slightly wobbly drawn-on seam as a massive, humiliating catastrophe in the middle of the street. Draw a straight line. How far would you go to fake your fashion if banned? 25. The government placed a strict legal 1-inch cap on women's shoe heels to conserve vital leather and structural steel for the war effort. Distant bureaucrats dictate the exact geometry of your footwear, officially declaring tall high heels a genuine threat to national security and resource management. They force an entire generation of women into mandatory patriotic flat-footedness just to build better battleships. Burn the stilettos. Could you give up your favorite style of shoes for war? 26. The government could legally compel the destruction of immaculate lawns and historic parks to plant basic cabbages and potatoes. The beautiful, centuries-old moat of the Tower of London drains away to grow onions, waging an absolute war on ornamental gardening across the nation. They convert every manicured flower bed in the country into a desperate dirt farm for basic survival calories. Rip up the roses. How would you feel if the military destroyed your front lawn? 27. Installing new private telephone lines faced heavy restrictions to preserve precious copper wire for the military war front. Unless you're a doctor or a commanding general, you find yourself locked out of the modern communication grid with zero chance of gaining access. It creates a total nationwide freeze on telecommunication upgrades, leaving you utterly disconnected from the expanding world. Talk to the wall. How long would society last if new internet connections were banned? 28. Blackout rules remained merciless. A single sliver of light escaping your window could result in a giant fine from an angry warden. Citizens install complex light traps and paint windows black, terrified that reading a book at midnight might invite a bomber straight to their roof. The law forces your cozy home to mutate into a suffocating, miniature black hole blockading the dark street. Live in the dark. Could you live in a house where open curtains equaled crime? 29. Every single street and town signpost in Britain vanished, systematically hidden or destroyed to disorient invading paratroopers. Authorities purposefully plunged the entire population into massive navigational chaos just to ensure the enemy gets hopelessly lost in the countryside. It acts as a brilliant, low-tech form of geographical warfare, turning the country into an unnavigable, frustrating maze. Good luck finding home. If GPS died and road signs vanished, could you find home? 30. The War Production Board banned pant cuffs, vests, and extra pockets, dictating exact suit dimensions to save precious wool. Your neighborhood tailor suddenly gets deputized as a federal agent, legally forbidden from giving you wide trousers or flashy lapels. Uncle Sam forces the entire male population to embrace stylish, mandated minimalism to clothe the troops freezing overseas. Keep the fabric tight. How angry would you be if the government banned your clothes? 31. Intelligence agents interrogated a schoolmaster because highly classified D-Day codenames randomly appeared in his newspaper crossword puzzles. Government spies kick down the door of a quiet puzzle maker, convinced he operates as a master spy transmitting secret invasion plans to the enemy. A mind-boggling coincidence turns a lazy Sunday morning puzzle into a massive treason investigation spanning the continent. Words will hang you. What's the craziest coincidence you've experienced that nobody actually believed? Banning driving just for fun saved vital gas and rubber, with the FBI tasked to hunt civilian violators. 32. Taking your car out for a sunny Sunday drive instantly transforms you into a prime target for a ruthless federal investigation. It marks the ultimate betrayal of the American open road, scarred by restrictive windshield stickers tracking your every single move through town. The joyride is dead. If the FBI monitored mileage, when would you get arrested? 33. Coastal weather vanes vanished from churches and buildings so spies couldn't read wind directions for incoming bombers. A harmless piece of decorative metal on a barn roof suddenly gets classified as a lethal instrument of airborne espionage. It creates a silent, spinning traitor, turning in the breeze, ready to betray the town to enemy planes navigating the dark coast. Tear down the rooster. What everyday object on your house could accidentally help an enemy? 34. Flying a kite became a serious offense under the Defense of the Realm Act because it could signal U-boats or floating zeppelins. A child's windy afternoon at the park abruptly gets reclassified by the paranoid military as a potential act of high treason against the crown. The innocent paper diamond dancing in the sky morphs into a treacherous beacon, guiding the enemy straight to your shores. Reel in the string. Have you ever accidentally broken a law as a naive kid? 35. The manufacturing of metal caskets faced an outright ban because steel and copper were deemed too valuable to bury deep in the ground. Bureaucrats dictate that even a corpse must minimize its resource footprint, forcing a quick return to cheap wooden boxes for the dead. It serves as a stark, unfeeling reminder that your patriotism comes legally mandated to follow you straight into the cold cemetery. You don't own your grave. Does the government have the right to dictate your burial box? Because sugar and eggs faced heavy rationing, a strict government order specifically banned white icing and elaborate wedding cake decorations. 36. Couples celebrating the most important day of their lives must slice into a bleak, tightly regulated, undecorated brick of hard fruitcake. The government obsesses over austerity so much that it officially crashes your wedding reception to inspect the sad dessert table. Scrape off the joy. Could you pretend you're happy cutting a plain, ugly fruitcake? 37. The United States essentially nationalized the entire airline industry, making it impossible to fly without top priority military or government clearance. Half of all commercial planes instantly vanished from the tarmac, rendering civilian travel a mythical concept reserved only for powerful generals. They ruthlessly grounded the glamorous jet-set age before it even possessed a proper chance to take off. Stay on the ground. If all civilian flights were permanently banned, how would life change? 38. In 1943, pennies were struck from steel instead of copper because copper was critical for ammunition wiring. The public walks around with magnetic, easily rusted silvery pennies jingling in their pockets that look confusingly exactly like standard dimes. You sacrifice your basic pocket change so the military can wire better bullets for the brutal front lines. Check your couch cushions. Do you have a strange magnetic historical penny in a jar? 39. Authorities banned all public weather forecasts so the enemy couldn't use wind or cloud data to plan devastating bombing raids. Millions of citizens find themselves left guessing about rain or sunshine for years, living in perpetual blind meteorological ignorance. It operates as a unique form of daily psychological torture where you never know if you need to carry an umbrella to work. Look up and pray. How many days could you survive without checking the weather app? Owning an unregistered carrier pigeon became a serious crime, out of fear they could smuggle intelligence to German spies. 40. The quaint weekend hobby of pigeon keeping overnight becomes a high-stakes, closely monitored game of lethal counterespionage. Authorities treat every random bird flying in the sky as a potential enemy combatant, working covertly for the Axis powers to destroy the country. The coop gets raided. If you saw an unregistered pigeon today, would you report it? 41. The United States government outlawed the sale and possession of whipped cream to secure vital butterfat for the war effort. Holding a can of sweet dessert topping technically transforms you into a greedy criminal hoarding essential military resources in your fridge. The law makes American dessert significantly flatter and a little more depressing by direct federal mandate. Eat your dry pie. If the government banned your favorite dessert, would you buy illegal? 42. Traditional gold rings were banned. Couples had to use standard utility rings made of cheap metal, legally restricted in weight. You attempt to symbolize endless, boundless love with a pathetic metal scrap explicitly capped at 1/8 of an ounce by distant bureaucrats. A lifelong romantic commitment gets forced to be as austere and tightly regulated as a stale military ration on the front lines. Romance goes bankrupt. Would you accept a government-mandated cheap metal ring from your partner? 43. A nationwide ban on outdoor Christmas lights hit the suburbs to conserve electricity for factories and maintain coastal blackouts. A homeowner trying to spread holiday cheer gets swiftly punished by a stern warden, treating Santa's glowing lights exactly like a treasonous distress flare. The state deploys the ultimate draconian holiday killjoy to guarantee a bleak, dark Christmas for the entire neighborhood. Unplug the tree. How would your neighborhood react if outdoor holiday lights were criminalized? 44. Anti-German paranoia forced the patriotic renaming of foods, changing sauerkraut to Liberty cabbage and hamburgers to Liberty steaks. A bizarre nationwide branding campaign takes over menus, where eating a foreign-sounding sandwich gets viewed as directly supporting the enemy. You fight a brutal world war by aggressively changing the vocabulary of your own dinner plate to avoid looking like a traitor in the diner. Pass the Liberty steak. What modern food item would you ridiculously rename for patriotic reasons? 45. The government legally restricted bathwater to 5 inches to save fuel, painting thick red lines inside tubs to ensure compliance. You're facing the terrifying realization that the government is literally inside your private bathroom, holding a wooden ruler to measure your daily hygiene. A domestic plimsoll line permanently scars your porcelain tub, treating your evening soak as a severe drain on national security. Stay dirty. Could you get fully clean using only 5 inches of water? 46. Long-distance train travel required government permission, eradicating the concept of a sunny seaside vacation. You have to beg a skeptical bureaucrat and prove your absolute necessity just to travel a few miles past the borders of your own town. The state executes the total legal assassination of the spontaneous weekend getaway, permanently trapping you within walking distance of your front door. Cancel the holiday. How fast would you go crazy if banned from leaving town? 47. Public dances were banned because they wasted electricity, encouraged factory absenteeism, and were deemed far too frivolous. Grumpy officials act as the ultimate fun police, sincerely believing that a well-executed jitterbug gives direct comfort and aid to the enemy. They demand you build heavy tanks for your country, but force you to do so without daring to tap your feet on the weekends. The music stops. If dancing and nightlife were banned, how would you spend weekends? 48. Using metal to make mousetraps became illegal, forcing citizens to rely on cats and old wooden traps. The nation fights a high-tech war against the Axis, while simultaneously fighting a low-tech, undignified war against the mice raiding its own pantries. You draft the nation's cats to handle neighborhood pest control because all the steel is busy making heavy tanks for the battlefield. Release the cats. Would you trust your lazy cat to protect your house today? A ban on non-essential pottery halted the production of decorative items, including the beloved garden gnome. 49. A catastrophic air raid smashes your favorite lawn gnome, and you simply have to endure the terrible loss until total global victory is declared. The nation's entire garden gnome demographic gets tragically frozen in time, unable to replenish its numbers while the kilns fire military-grade ceramics. Protect the yard. What useless decorative item in your house would you mourn most? Wait, let's pause the countdown right here. Before we hit the final, most brutal restriction, we need to hand out a special award for the ultimate peak of relentless government overreach. The winner, the British 5-inch bathwater limit, takes the crown for its pure bureaucratic intrusion. You have to respect the sheer absurdity of the state literally painting a red line inside your tub to regulate your dirt. Do you agree with our verdict, or does another law win? Let's finish this list. 50. Under British fire watch orders, citizens were forced to sit on their roofs during freezing air raids, waiting to fight incendiary bombs with a simple bucket of sand. Winning a war demands the relentless surrender of personal choice, turning ordinary people into frontline soldiers in their own homes. Your house is a weapon. Which of these laws would you have the hardest time following? Drop your answer below, like and subscribe for more forgotten stories.